This is episode 150, How to Really Love Yourself. Welcome to Alive by Design. My name is Blake Mallon, and we're here to bring you inspiring people, principles, and practices to help you wake up, move toward your meant to, and feel fully alive. Open your mind and let's dive in. Hey guys, before you listen to the podcast, I just want to drop in and say I appreciate you for being here, and I'm super excited about this new Walk With Me series. These are solo episodes where I take some time in the middle of my morning run through the Santa Monica Mountains to share some inspired ideas and thoughts on my mind and heart. If you want to join me for any of these conversations live, you can catch me many mornings on my Facebook page, facebook.com/blakemallon.page. Would love to see you there. Love you guys. Enjoy the episode. Walk with me. Self-love. It's kind of been a thing lately, hasn't it? Very much a mainstream trend. Self-care, self-love, rightfully so. Coming off an interesting season the last couple years. I do love the fact that we're prioritizing this conversation, making it okay to fill our own cup, making it okay to love and care for yourself in a way that's not egocentric or self or selfishly driven. I think it's an important conversation, but I don't know if any of you have thought the same thing. Like, self-love, like, what the heck is that? Like, why is it important? And maybe most importantly, how in the world do you make self-love more than just a catchy catchphrase? But how do you make that, like, real? Like, how in the world do you really maybe shift a paradigm where you genuinely, authentically do really like love yourself? I want to have a conversation today beyond just self-love. I agree it's important, but maybe a little deeper. Like, where in the world does that come from? How do we really build that so it's a true statement when we not only talk about ourselves, but when we're looking in the mirror, how we feel about what we see. When we're by ourselves in solitude, how we feel about our company. And it's not a conversation I'm willing to bet you expect, because it's not a conversation that I'm hearing in and around this whole kind of self-care, self-love movement. Matter of fact, it might even be the very opposite. But I think it's where the whole conversation truly begins for like real shift. So before we dive into what it is, why it's important, and most importantly, where in the world this thing comes from and how we build that muscle authentically, I'm going to ask, hey, who's by my side? You can see sun is shining here in Southern California. Water is damp. Ground is damp. Just after a rain. It is an important conversation, this self-love. And let's start by just asking, what does that even mean? What is it? The trending hashtag self-care Sunday these days. We take our Sundays and care for ourselves. Shouldn't we care for and love ourselves all the time, every day? And doesn't it not necessarily require us to disconnect and go to the spa or meditate or do something we enjoy in order to really love ourselves? Shouldn't self-love be something that is a real, raw, natural feeling all the time, no matter what we're doing or what we're going through? Let me start off by saying that I'm not opposed to the movement. I value the movement. I think it's an important conversation. I love that it's okay to not be okay these days. I love that it's okay to talk about what we're in the middle of and going through transparently. It's okay to get honest and vulnerable. This term authentic, at the end of the day, it's just being honest, right, with ourselves and others in the conversation. I think it's okay in all of that to put ourselves first. Ourselves, our health, both mentally and physically, because without us being in the best place we can be when it comes to our mind and our body, how can we possibly impact others? It's that old cliche, you can't pour from an empty cup. So don't misunderstand me. I am a supporter of the movement of filling our cup and learning and educating ourselves and others how to fill our cup from the lens of showing up at our best, at our optimum, moving toward our potential, not from a place of egocentric or self-centered, but from a place of that's the beginning of impacting others. We got to be able to take care of ourselves to impact others in a greater way. So I'm a fan of the conversation, and I'm a fan of all the obvious stuff that we've all heard that we're not going to talk about today. That we do got to recharge. You do got to step back and know when you're running on empty and you need to refuel. You got to step back and know when the battery's drained and you got to plug in. And we've had a lot of great past conversations. You can go hit the podcast, scroll back, and we've had some good ones on like how to manage our energy, how to focus on things that fuel us, and all the life hacks, for better or lack of better term, that you can do that work. So I'm a fan of all those, but I want to take today's dialogue beyond all that. We've talked about it, it's been talked about, and go a little bit deeper. It's very difficult to love the person you'll become tomorrow if you don't love the person you are today. Stop for a minute and just take that in. It'll be very difficult, if not impossible, to love the person you are becoming if you don't love the person you are right now, despite what we may think. We often get stuck in I call it the when-then trap, because we tell ourselves, when this happens, then I'll feel successful. When this happens, then everything will be great. When this happens, then I'll be happy, right? How often do we tell ourselves and play these games that just around the next corner, then I'll be there. Just up the next mountain, pun intended here, then I'll be there. And we play this game of life of when then. And at some point, I think we all realize, and hopefully not too late, that never ends. I sit on my rock. Check out the view. And that's the problem with the when then, is there is no end to that trap. And even with change, transformation, shift, growth, development, progress, whatever term you want to use, as we truly become someone better, a better version of ourselves, if we don't love the person we are today, the odds of us loving the person we're becoming are very small. No matter what we tell ourselves, we think, or others tell us. Loving the person you are becoming begins with loving where you're at right now. Doesn't matter where you're at. Doesn't matter what you've done. Doesn't matter what's behind you. Doesn't matter if you're on the top of a mountain or in the middle of a valley right now. Doesn't matter if you're in a winning season or a losing season right now. Doesn't matter if the scoreboard's ahead or the scoreboard's a mile behind in your life right now. It doesn't matter where you're at in this moment in time. We have to learn to love who we are in order to love who we are becoming. And that's easier said than done, right? It begs the question, well, how do you do all of that? You know, it's hard to allow into our life anything that we don't truly feel we deserve. And I'll even go say that not only do we not allow what we don't feel we deserve, we will actually deflect, turn away anything we don't feel we deserve. Even if the world, the universe, right? The people around us try to force onto us the things that we really want and are good for us. If we don't deep down feel we deserve it, we will push it away. I can't tell you how many times in my life I've watched people with all the talent, all the hustle, put in the time, do the work, get the thing they think they want, but deep down feel they don't deserve it. And they figure out how to mess it up, how to self-sabotage, how to get in their own way, how to push away the very thing they say and think and feel they want. Because deep down, they didn't believe they deserved it. So it begins with us really believing that we deserve the things that we say we're going for. You deserve to be successful. You deserve to live the lifestyle. You deserve to own and control your time. You deserve to have freedom. You deserve to be happy. You deserve to experience joy. You deserve to be truly fulfilled. You deserve to do the things you love. You deserve to have a loving spouse or significant other. You deserve to have an amazing circle of relationships. You deserve all of that. And you got to believe that you really deserve that in order to allow that. And even beyond allowing it, you got to believe you deserve it to start to attract that. So start by giving yourself all of the things that maybe many of you generously give to others every day. How quick are we to give kindness to others? But how slow are we to give kindness to ourselves? How quick are we to give grace or forgiveness to those we love and are around us? But how tough sometimes it is for us to give ourselves grace and forgive ourselves for the same things. We'd rapidly forgive somebody else for the same situation. We beat ourselves up in the same thing. You got to give to yourself what we so easily sometimes give to others. You give love to others. You got to love yourself, right? You give energy to others. You got to give energy to yourself. So whatever you find is the right thing to give to those you care most about, make sure you include yourself in that circle. Give that to yourself. And we got to shift to actually believing we deserve the very things we say we want. Otherwise, we'll be stuck in that just worldly paradox of saying we want something but never truly getting it, saying we need something, yet when we got it, it slips away and we never really hold it because the things that we say we want, we don't deep down believe we deserve. So loving yourself begins with that, but I think it goes deeper. And this is where there's maybe a different opinion from the surface level conversation around self-love is, well, how do you do that? How do you start giving that to yourself, giving you the things that you deserve, believing you deserve it? How do you start and begin loving yourself? You guys, I think loving yourself, to truly love yourself and believe the things we're talking about, that begins with first respecting yourself. You can't love yourself without first truly respecting yourself. Because if you don't respect yourself, you're always going to have the doubt. You're always going to believe you don't deserve. You're always going to have the question in your mind if you don't truly have a respect, a self-respect. And I'm not talking about how you show up to others or how you create boundaries for others to treat you. That stuff's important, but that stems from the true feeling of how you respect yourself to create those conversations or those boundaries. Which then begs the question, if loving yourself begins with respecting yourself, how do we build respect for ourselves? I think that's the question. Let me ask you, let's use a lifeline analogy here. I want you to think about moments in your life where you had the most self-respect, right? You were straight proud of yourself. You respected yourself in that moment. What moments come to mind? If you're willing to share from experience, share below. It might jog some memories from other individuals that have been through similar situations. Or I'm willing to bet, if we're honest with ourselves, and if I look at my own lifeline and ask myself that same question, my answer would be the times that I've built the most respect for myself were the times I was most challenged. They weren't the victories. They weren't the top of the mountain moments. They weren't the trophies, right? They weren't the celebrations. All that stuff was fun, don't get me wrong, right? The victory lap. But none of those built the level of true self-respect as compared to the moments where I was like in the mud. Like everything felt like it was collapsing. Like things were not going my way. Like people close to me were deflecting, right? Or stabbing me in the back, or, breaking trust and relationship, right? People that were close, or the things that started to happen were totally not what I wanted or expected, where it was when it rains, it pours type of moments, right? Everything in the kitchen sink, like in the mud, in the valley. Like some of the most trying and traumatizing times. Where in the moment, it wasn't fun. It was absolutely horrible. It was like crippling, right? It was overwhelmed anxiety, right? And fear and all the things. But I kept going. And I kept pushing. And I kept crawling. Painfully. Sometimes maybe even unwillingly. But progress nonetheless. And going through those hard times, doing the hard things, is when I actually built the most self-respect. Now, it doesn't mean in every one of those situations I came out on top, right? In many of those situations, I didn't. Some situations, guys, don't have a happy ending. Sometimes you go through the mud and there's not a top of the mountain on the other side. It's just, you just get to the end of the mud and that's just it, right? So it wasn't tied to the outcome. Some of the outcomes were positive. Some of the outcomes were not. Some are what I wanted. Some are what I didn't. But the outcome isn't what I'm talking about. It was the doing of the hard things, regardless of where it ended up, that actually built the self-respect and the muscle and the skill and the lessons and the perspective and the wisdom and the experience. Despite the outcome, all that stuff was built nonetheless. The journey or the progress through the mud, the doing of the hard things, irregardless of where they went, built the self-respect more than anything else. Man, isn't that a powerful shift? The doing of the hard things actually leads to self-respect, which allows true self-love. Isn't that the opposite of going to the spa? Isn't that the opposite of meditation? Which I love those things, don't get me wrong, right? I enjoy them, but isn't that the very opposite? When we talk about self-care, self-love, the things that we do, the actuality of what makes it real and long-term is the opposite. It's the mud moments, the valley moments. There's a really interesting book called Flow, F-L-O-W. And in the book, there's a framework. I've never seen it put this way, but it's a framework that basically, if you imagine an axis, right, or, a quadrant, and on one axis, it has the word challenges, right? Challenges meaning like obstacles, like the level of difficulty. And on the other axis, it has skills. And it basically points out how you feel or where you're at with different degrees of challenges versus the skills that you have. And when we're in seasons of life where we have low challenges, and when it comes to that challenge, a low level of skill, right? A low level of challenge and a low level of skill, you have apathy, right? You have apathy. You don't feel like doing anything. You got low skill. You got not enough challenges. You're apathetic. You're lethargic. You're running motions. If you're in situations where you have very high level of challenge and a low level of skill, well, that's the seasons in our life where we have the most anxiety, right? We have the most stress. We have high challenges, but a low level of skill. Vice versa, when we're in seasons when we have a high level of skill, but a low level of challenge, like we're overqualified for where we're at. You transition from boredom, right? You're just bored, all the way to like a feeling of retirement. You're just doing it by osmosis. Like you can do it with your eyes closed. Not enough challenge in your life, too much skill in your life. And the punchline of the conversation is for us to get into what the book calls flow, where we're the most happy, where we're the most fulfilled, where we're making the most progress, where we're building the most self-respect, building the most self-love. You guessed it, it's when you have high challenge that requires you to build high skill, right? When we put ourselves in situations of obstacle, of hard things, of challenging times, we take on the next level, we level up. It forces us to grow our skill. And actually, when we're growing our skill, using high skill to accomplish hard challenges, doing the hard things, to tackle the hard things, that's when we actually are in the state of flow, most fulfillment, most progress, most self-respect. Fascinating framework. Begs the question, what season are you in right now? And it comes to your professional life. Are you in a season of high challenge? How much challenge do you have right now? Do you have capacity to voluntarily take on more challenge? And where are you at in the skill, right? Are you just running motions? Are you in apathy? Are you moderate, kind of bored, right? Not enough skill, kind of retired? Or are you leveling up the challenges you're taking on and leveling up your skill to move toward that flow state? Where are you at in your personal life right now? Are you constantly setting bars? Where are you at with your health? Where are you at with your finances? You can ask that question for all the various aspects of your life and be honest with yourself. And I'm willing to bet you got to make some adjustments. Do you need more challenge or do you need more skill in the areas of your life? And the punchline of all of that is to take on more challenge and develop more skill means you're choosing to do hard things. Now, sometimes life forces us to do hard things, not of our choice. And maybe the world's saying, hey, now's the time to grow, right? Now's the time to give you this, to see what you got. It might be a gift, right? Masqueraded, right, as a disaster. It might be a gift. It might be what you need to get out of the situation that you're in. But life doesn't have to throw them in front of us. By then, maybe it's too late. We can choose to challenge ourselves, choose to raise our standards, choose to level up, choose to push ourselves, choose to raise our challenge in order to drive up our skill. That can be a choice. And when you constantly choose to do that, choose to do the hard things and shift your framework on how you approach the hard things as an opportunity for growth, an opportunity to build self-respect, guys, that changes everything. Both the things that we don't want thrown at us and the things we put on our own plate voluntarily. Either way, it shifts the perspective of the hard things are the pathway to self-respect and self-love. The obstacles are the way, to use a Ryan Holiday book or quote, right? It is the way to self-respect and self-love. Give you another view at the top. So guys, I think today's conversation, I hope, hit home for everybody because it's a universal. The self-love movement that's happening, I think, is an amazing thing, but I think we're missing the mark. Yes, we need to recharge and fill our cups, do all the things that build your energy, but no, those are short-term fixes. They're mental resets. You want to have true self-love, love the person you are today, to love the person you are becoming. It starts with a self-respect, and a self-respect starts with doing hard things. Sometimes things we can't control, but sometimes things we can control, and even things we choose. And either way, it's how we choose to show up and approach the things that are put in front of us or we put in front of us. How's that for a shift? It's not about the spa. It's not about the meditation. It's about the mud. It's about the valley. It's about the journey. And it's about who we're becoming through it all. Until the next time we walk, hey, I hope you find some hard things to do this week. I hope you choose to do some hard things this week, and I hope today's conversation resonates in that moment of maybe how you show up to do that thing and why that thing is more important even than you might even know. Have a great day. Take care, everybody.
Hey guys, one last thing. I'm super excited that this new podcast, Alive by Design, just went live. You see, I designed the show to bring you inspired thoughts and fascinating conversations with the world's most impactful people, to provide transformative principles and practices to help you wake up, move toward your meant to, and feel fully alive. And I'd love for you to help me spread the word now. Simply subscribe, rate, and review the podcast on this platform right now. So if I've ever given you value, please do me this personal favor and go subscribe now. And if you found today's episode helpful in any way, make sure you share this with at least one friend today. You have the power right now to change someone's day. So send them a text message with a link to alivebydesign.com, or simply copy and paste the link right from this podcast platform. Who's one person you know right now that you want to see succeed, that you want to see grow, that you want to see feel more alive? Shoot them a text with your largest takeaway from today and be a light in their day. And if you were referred here by a friend, make sure you shoot them a text back and say thank you. I'd love to hear from you directly on what you got from today's podcast. So if you're up for it, drop by my Instagram @BlakeMallon and shoot me a DM. And as always, thank you for showing up. I'm grateful for you, and I hope our time together today in some small way helped you feel a little more alive. Until next time.